Yeah.
Okay,
All right,
great.
we can start
I think we're
it.
gonna start,
Yeah,
right?
thank
Yep.
you.
Okay. So what do I do?
George.
I think it's I think you're started. You turn off the video. So here's the video and we're live and it's.
Oh, okay, all right.
Um,
Okay, we're gonna start this meeting now. So, hi, everyone. Welcome to CB7's Parks and Environment Committee tonight. The first thing we're gonna do on the agenda, as we always do, is ask for an adoption of the agenda. So, all in favor? Okay, great. And I hope we have Captain Maliente from the Central Park Precinct with us tonight.
I don't.
Raise your hand on Zoom if you're in the, oh, there he is.
Yeah.
So promote him.
Oh, where is he?
Well, he raised it, so you gotta click on the.
He's
camera.
promoted and he's on.
Oh, okay, great.
Joining webinars panelist. And Jess, do you want to just talk through what the agenda is today, like what it's gonna be? Yeah. So we're
Sure.
Gonna be,
While we're waiting for the captain to get on, I just want to announce that we're gonna take things in a slightly different order tonight after the captain speaks. We were asked by Parks to introduce two new Parks people who will be working in our district, so we're gonna do that, and then we have Hayden Brockett, and then we have some interesting old business. So,
and then River Run too.
and, yeah, but that's at the end.
Oh,
Do
no,
it at
but
the
we
end.
don't
Well,
want to announce on that, it's not gonna be today or.
If you're here and online for River Run, it will be next month, we are told. Unfortunately, they could not make it this month. Okay, so Captain Maliente, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Fantastic.
Great.
Okay. So we had asked you for, to answer two questions for us. The first had to do with, police cars and other vehicles that are parked on the bridle path in Central Park. You want to talk to that, please?
Sure, I know, Gail Brewer made a complaint recently about the amount of vehicles that are parked in there and the need for them, and there was a New York Post article. So since then, we're working to really monitor how that area is used by vehicles. And I met with Gail Brewer on Friday. I had a meeting with her and Parks. And I've tasked my integrity control officer with making sure that all the vehicles that are in there are essential to the park and people coming to work at the park, and that we have no outside agencies or people from other that are not essential to the park. We found some vehicles in there that probably shouldn't have been there. We've also worked on cleaning up some of the older vehicles that are in there. Those three-wheel scooters used to be commonly called cop in a box. And we have some of those and some of them hadn't operated in a while, and we're getting them removed to their final destination just for, appearance and need. And we're just like working with our professional standards unit just to make sure that all those vehicles that are in there are essential to the park and for park usage, to make the park safer and a safer place. And I think coming up, you'll see it's going to be a lot more cleaner, less vehicles, hopefully, and less an impact on the park. And that's what we'd like to see.
Well, that's good news, but a lot of those vehicles are unmarked. Are they not private vehicles of the police officers as well as police cars?
So we have at any tour about 20 police officers that report to work. Usually that's not the case. Usually the precinct has street parking, just like the 20th precinct has street parking. We don't have that. So cops apply for a restricted parking plan just as any precinct. So some of those cars shouldn't be as many of them unmarked. If they're given a restricted plaque, they are permitted to park at the precinct. So a few of them are personal vehicles, but they are authorized to park there. Professional standards came by, they did an inspection. So as long as they've applied for and we're giving a restricted plaque, we know that police officers mostly have to come to work on odd times to do all kinds of different work. So they are given restricted plaque permits to park their vehicles. And that is legal as long as they're at the facility they work at or reporting to that facility. They're not allowed to park at any police facility or anywhere, but does provide them parking at court and other sorts of responsibilities that they have to go to. But we're just making sure that all the people that are parked there of their vehicles, that they are assigned or reporting to Central Park for that day.
Do you think that you could provide some kind of a sticker for them so that the public knows that they're all part of the precinct? Because, you know, it does deter from the tranquility of the park to be walking through all those cars and the exhaust, and it's full of pit holes and things now that really haven't been there before.
Yeah, we can. I know Parks has a number of trades people that report to their building next door to us. And they park there as well, so they have vehicles parked there as well for their tradesmiths that work out of that building. So we do provide them with permits. We track now we're starting to track all the plate numbers of the officers to make sure that the ones that are in there are registered and we know about them.
Okay, are there any other comments on? Yes,
I was just generally curious of like if you can tell the proportion of the police officers that use public transportation to the precinct versus using their personal vehicle. I just out of curiosity.
So most use their personal vehicle to come to the precinct. We do have a few officers that live very close by in the city. That don't use a vehicle, that don't even own a vehicle to drive to work. One lives probably in the district of your community board there. It was like 27 years in our precinct. Another officer in Brighton Beach, he only drives on the weekends because it's easier to just take the train traffic wise. I know a few other people take the public transportation to get to work, but more than most people do drive.
And I'm just curious, like what motivates them to drive versus take public transit? I know you said like off hours, but then I know there's public transportation surrounding the park on each side.
Yeah, so everybody who does the what we call the late tour drives. So and most people that do evening shift of what we call 4 to 12 drive. A lot of the people that take public transportation are the ones that do a day shift, which is like a standard, like almost like business hour. So it's easy to take public transportation, even if that's outside the city, such as Metro North or Long Island Railroad.
Mm.
Any other comments on this? Alex, do you have any comments? No? Okay, the second question we had asked you was just if you would give us an update on the safety in the park right now?
So the park is very safe right now. We're seeing historical lows in robberies. We've only recorded 9 robberies this year, where last year we recorded 40 robberies. So unbelievably safe on that. But still, we need to be mindful of our property, especially, we don't leave it unattended. I would say we have about 41 what we consider grand larcenies this year. And although we're very down in person, we're up in unattended property, so people just not minding their property. That's up. We're also up in a little bit of felony assaults. I would like to say, although they're felony assaults, some of them didn't require any serious injuries, so that's good. And the other thing I would like to tell people is if you're in the park and you're using these Apple Air Max headphones, these large Apple headphones on your head, it's not just the park, but citywide, there's been a rash of young juveniles riding on e-bikes and snatching them off people's heads. There's a number of patterns related to this with similar perps stealing these things, but we just ask people to be very safe in the park and mind your surroundings and anywhere in the city for that matter, because there is an uptick of these thefts. And the park has had a few of them this year.
Questions from anybody? No. I had one question regarding the e-bikes at the pedestrian walkways in the park. Have you seen any additional accidents or anything regarding them?
So as e-bikes become more proliferant, we are up slightly in e-bike accidents this year, but we've also started to do a lot of enforcement on that. And we've written recently about 80 e-bike summonses versus only 8 last year. So we're way up in e-bike enforcement. We issue civil violations to returnable to what we call oath court for riding off the main drive and on pedestrian paths, and also B summonses, we call them B summonses, that returnable to Traffic Violations Bureau, and some criminal court summonses for some of the more egregious violations, wrong way, red lights, and reckless operation. E-bikes.
Just a quick follow-up question. Do you guys enforce the summons? Are the summons being answered? Are people showing up to answer it and pay fines for the violations? Is that a trend that's happening?
We just really started a lot of e-bike enforcement. So TVB is always, people have to show up to Traffic Violations Bureau and Criminal Court. The old summons court is a little bit tougher to enforce. It's just a civil court, but they're effective, and it's not the only thing we've been doing. We've been doing a lot of outreach on e-bike and safety. I know the new drive has been a topic of conversation that's been done by the DOT and the Central Park Conservancy. So we've been working with their people and our auxiliaries to do outreach and education. On November 5th, we had an auxiliary deployment, which is not just our auxiliary volunteer officers. We're included volunteer officers from all over Manhattan North, the borough. And we had about 55 officers in the park doing education and outreach, handing out flyers about e-bike and park usage. We've also gotten help from our transportation bureau. The traffic team has an education enforcement thing. They've been with us every Thursday and Friday night from 16 to 18, 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. in the park, doing education on e-bike and making sure the drives are safe. And we also have new signage in the park from our highway division, which has given us some variable message signs, which are telling people about the new e-bike speed limit and to yield to pedestrians in a crosswalk, and also 2 speed signs that show people the speed they're traveling as they go by these signs.
Thank you. Is there anything else you'd like to tell us about the park?
No, that's it. Just be ready for some closures around the parade and Thanksgiving celebrations and balloon blow up.
Right. Right, okay, anybody else have any questions or comments that they'd like to make? Yeah, please.
I don't necessarily have a question, but during last month's meeting, I was asked to basically, okay, this is about the Central Park Road, so I would like for him to hear still. I was asked, of course, I spoke about the safety, and I kind of went, I went bigger on the topic. I did more research, and I more or less have like a short slideshow, only a few slides that I would like to present to the community board about the bikes in Central Park and
Oh, you know what, we're gonna hold that for new
Yeah, I was
business,
gonna
okay? Or maybe we'll see,
yeah.
have you come back next month, because we do have an agenda and we have to follow
Yeah, I
through with it
understand.
now, okay? But I'd love to see them. Thank you. Okay. Hello.
Hi.
Anybody else? Okay, thank
We
you
have a
very,
community member.
oh, I'm so sorry. One more question? Sure.
Hi.
Hi.
When I started the citizen complaint program, I started it with Denise Katzman. We would meet around Houston Street for a while. And when I started the citizen complaint program, there were no barriers to improvement, and I was hoping that it would be expanded.
Excuse me for one moment. I'm sorry to interrupt, but that's on our agenda, but we're not up to that yet.
Okay,
Okay, so we're gonna thank the captain for coming tonight,
okay.
and we'll move on to the next thing. And when we get to that, you'll certainly have time to speak. So Captain Allende, thank you so much for coming on tonight. We really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
Okay, anytime you have something to tell us, you're more than welcome here. Matt Genrich, who was our longtime Parks, man, I don't know your title, I'm sorry.
Contact.
Matt Genrich is here, and he wants to introduce 2 new people to us who are the new district parks managers. So, Matt, you're there? Do you promote him?
Matt, if you can raise your hand, if you haven't already. There we go.
Okay, Matt, and we also have Stephen Cunningham and Gary Rothman.
All right, good evening, everyone. Yeah, so we have two new district managers in the area for New York City Parks. Stefan Cunningham, who will be managing operations for all of our playgrounds from basically West End Ave over to Central Park West from 59th to 110th. And then Gary Rothman will be managing operations for Riverside Park. I'm still in the area, still around. I'm the regional manager for 7, 9, 10, and 11. So basically Upper West Side and all of Harlem. The two new managers will be some additional support to have a little more detail and oversight and some extra hands for help. So I'll have them introduce themselves now that they've been promoted to panelists.
Great, please.
Before they do, I'm going to jump in. I'm John Harold. I'm the Riverside Park Administrator, and Matt is not co-opting Riverside Park. Gary Rothman is going to be in Riverside Park as our manager. And now we'll let them talk.
Very nice. Gary, do you want to start?
Hi, everyone. Gary Rothman. I just started last week over here at Riverside as a manager. Previously, I was working over at District 8 Manhattan as a supervisor, and I'm looking forward to working with you all and learning my new position and getting to know Riverside Park. My phone's always available. If anyone ever wants to reach me, my phone number, I don't know if I can put it in chat or if you want me to just say it. It's 929-466-1208. 929-466-1208. And I look forward to working with you all and helping out the community however I can.
Great. Nice to meet you. Thanks, Gary.
Nice to meet you.
And Steph?
Good evening, all. So just to reiterate what Gary spoke, I'm new to the APRM title. I've been in Manhattan a long time. I've worked with Central Park, and I'm definitely happy to be here and ready for the challenges ahead. My phone contact information is 646-656-1106, and I look forward to working with you all. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks so much for coming on tonight and introducing yourselves. We appreciate it. Okay, so moving forward with the agenda, we are really honored tonight to have a presentation from one of our own members, Hayden Brockett, who's going to be talking on the Citizens Air Complaint Program, and we'll have questions and discussion afterwards, but he has a presentation that he's going to make. So Hayden, you are on.
All right. I'm trying to share my screen and I'm not sure that it's going to let me do that, but let me try one more time because that would be a short presentation without it.
It's
Here
fine.
we go.
Yeah, I've got it.
Click to exit. Allow. What's going on with that? Click to exit. I'm sharing the screen. That's what I want to do. One second.
Do that.
This one's the desktop.
This, or should to share the bottom. I don't know, do desktop.
Yeah.
Do you want to email it to me too, or?
There we go.
There we go.
Got it.
Okay, great.
Okay.
Oh,
Well, you'll see some of the side and the comments, but there you go. That's fine.
All right, great. Thanks for the patience here. So I'm here to talk about the Citizens Air Complaint Program, which is the most successful citizen environmental program in the world. And I called it an environmental success story. When I was first asked to present to this, I'm a member of the community board. I was told by some people who've been on the community board a lot longer than I, that this is far from the first presentation that Manhattan Community Board 7 has received as a result of about this program or about these clean air laws. There we go. Because this community board was actually sort of the genesis of getting a lot of this program started almost decades plural ago, when Helen Rosenthal was the member of the city council. So without further ado, I'll take it away here in the substance. So here is the problem. As we all know, we live in New York City, you sort of tune it out. You're walking down the street, you're inhaling all kinds of air. You don't really think about it, the smells, the exhaust. But as I've showed with this, now when the weather's getting colder, you may start to see some of that exhaust. And then something you may not even notice, but it is happening way too much, is the dust that comes out of the backs of trucks or construction sites. Now, each of these instances, especially the idling, if it's more than 3 minutes, is illegal, but it's still a huge problem that causes 3,200 early deaths each year just from what's called PM 2.5, particulate matter 2.5 nanometers. It is extremely dangerous. It gets to every single one of your cells, in addition to nitrous oxide, carbon monoxide, sulfur dioxide. All of these things are caused by the air pollution that we breathe in every day. It's especially troubling and dangerous for children, for the elderly, and for pregnant women. In New York City this year, 3,200 people will die a premature death because of air pollution. This comes from the city's own website. There will be 3,600 emergency visits alone for asthma. And, you know, hospital admissions for cardiovascular conditions, 920 a year, and these rates keep going up. But if we were to reduce those ratios, as this shows here, if we were to reduce some of that pollution, we can cut that very significantly. And that is where the solution to our dangerous problem comes in. And it's called citizen enforcement. Let's see if this video plays. You won't be able to hear the audio, but that is Billy Idol saying, turn it off. And the answer is turn your engine off. That is the technology that every single car has, and it actually isn't necessary ever to idle. And that's why the city back in 1971 passed a law banning all idling over 3 minutes. Any motor vehicle cannot idle for over 3 minutes. And there was a citizen enforcement component of the law back in 1971 that unfortunately didn't really get a lot of publicity for the first 45 years of this program's existence. And the law, the city council paid some attention to it in 2018, thanks to, I'm really standing on the shoulders of giants here, thanks to George Pakenham and Samara Swanson, whom I know you'll hear from in a moment. Samara was on the New York City Council Environmental Committee. She has a long history and distinguished career as an environmental advocate. George Pakenham got I would say radicalized through a family tragedy and became someone who really got the idling law, which is on the books, to become enforced, thanks to Helen Rosenthal, drafted by Samara and advocated by George, to encourage citizen enforcement. And then again, the city council, thanks to a number of other people, including Gail Brewer, including Sean Abreu, strengthened the anti-idling law in 2020. It was actually passed in 2023. It went into effect due to some unfortunate delays in 2024, which bans idling over 1 minute adjacent to parks. So here is the overview of the Citizen Air Complaint Program. 3 minutes for all trucks and buses. The law applies to all motor vehicles, but citizens can only report against trucks and buses. It's 1 minute next to a school or a park. That's on any block that has any park or school property. The respondents get $350 for a penalty for a first offense that currently goes up to $600 for a third offense. And the innovative thing the city council has passed and has actually started to be making this program a success is that citizens who report these violations can get 25% of the proceeds if DEP takes the fine and collects on it, and 50% of the proceeds if DEP doesn't collect the fine and the citizen enforces it. Although that happens much less than you'd think. The problem is, unfortunately, it does take about 2 years for participants to receive their incentive awards, and many awards are never paid. We'll get to that in a moment, but it can turn out to be a very effective means of getting individuals can make some money, which is wonderful in an expensive city. I hear we have a bit of an affordability problem in this city. I'm led to believe, right? So the CACP, as I've talked about, is working well. Here we are in 2018 when Samara and George got the law passed and Helen Rosenthal got it passed. There were 16 citizen idling enforcement. George, how many of those were you?
Probably
All of them. Okay, all right. In the first year, that was up to 7.9 thousand. 2020 took a little bit of a hit when the portal wasn't available because of COVID. 2021, I can't really take credit for much of that, but I got involved in the very end of 2021. And since then, we've had pretty explosive growth in the number of, these are violations that have been issued against idling trucks and buses. And this sort of illustrates, unfortunately, the reality of like, the city agencies alone can't really tackle this problem. We have 5 boroughs, we have a gigantic land area, we have millions and millions of trucks and buses every day. And so what you have is, as you know, by year 2, the citizens had gotten violations that were, what is that? Someone do a math there for me, like 5, 6, 7 times more than what any city agency ever issued. So what we have here is an environmental success story because the under-resourced city agencies were not able to enforce the law. To date, I think it's gonna be a little out of date. We're right up around $100 million that the city has collected as a result of citizen air complaint programs since 2020 alone. It's important to note that the NYPD's evidence, which is not really based on a video, is less effective than the citizens' evidence, which is based on a video. Here's one particular success story that I'm proud of. Everyone who lives in the Upper West Side knows that we have got Amazon trucks double parked all along Broadway. And these days, thankfully, the only law they're breaking is double parking. But for 2021, 22, 23, those are the years that I know, these merchant fleet vehicles would sit all day, double parked, and idle the entire day. No reason. There was no reason to be running the engine the entire day. And so a group of us reported those to the city, and there was a number of violations. As you saw, as those numbers of violations went up, we had about 300 a month. What happened? They stopped idling almost overnight. There's a bit of a lag time in terms of the violations, but right here in the beginning of April, they stopped overnight. So Amazon, after years and years and years of polluting our, I'm loath to give Amazon too much praise, but in this area, it is deserved. They have actually turned off their engine and have been much more compliant than they used to be. This is a visualization of all of the idling violations that have been issued to date across the city. You can see obviously that it's concentrated heavily in the densest parts of the city for sure. We'll zoom in on that a little bit. Staten Island is showing up. They are about not quite 1% of the violations, but I do know some people who report on Staten Island, which is important. And then, some of the things that have been some criticisms to the level of the program have been that the program is too focused on some of the areas where people are, have a little more money. And that is unfortunately the result of there being too few participants. That's part of why I'm here today to talk about what we've got. So Manhattan, right now we're just under 300,000 total violations. Manhattan is 67% of that, followed up by Brooklyn, Queens, Bronx, and Staten Island. Like, I think that number is a little wrong. I think they had about 0.5%. But as you might expect, where air pollution is the densest, that is where the most violations of the law are caught. Here's a zoom in on our community board. Every single one of those pink dots, which you can see there, a lot of them, is a citizens air complaint, basically a citizens air complaint program. Participants reporting an instance that has been of illegal idling that has been caught and punished by law. We are at about 19,000 total for the entire participation in the program. You can see CB5 and CB4 down near the tunnels are a little bit heavier in terms of participation. Here is a map of the city's environmental justice areas. Anything that is in blue, that's a blue dot, is an area that is not an environmental justice area. Any dot that is red is in an environmental justice area. What is an environmental justice area? It's a specific designation under the statute of places, primarily, low income or black and brown communities, that have been overly burdened by air pollution and other sources of pollution. We have them, as you can see, I'll go back here real quick. The Upper West Side, and our community board has pockets of those, pretty significantly. And so I'm just gonna focus in on one area where I happen to live. Here we have a EJ community, and the point about this is simply to notice that the data show that there is even enforcement across EJ areas or non-EJ areas, and I pointed that out here. On the map, that somehow becomes an EJ area when you cross the map. There isn't like there's a lack of enforcement for the Citizens Air Complaint Program, just because people who live there happen to be in an EJ community, where I happen to live there too. So that is part of why we got a lot of enforcement there. Another example is Hunts Point, through our organization that you see up there, the New York Clean Air Collective, founded by George and a bunch of us as well. We did trainings in Hunts Point, which, as you imagine, is probably one of the most polluted areas of the city, and if not the country. We went from, this was after one person went through and did this, and then we did trainings. We trained people who live in the area, and you can see there's a lot more density of idling enforcement, which has helped out in the air quality in that part of the Bronx. Here are some of the supporters. I based this on testimony at various hearings. I based this on letters of support to Alexa Aviles, got the bill helping parks be 1 minute zones passed, the We Act and NYCLCB, NRDC, and all these other groups, including Brad and Sean and Eric and Helen, of course, have been wonderful allies. But there are some ongoing dangers to our air I'm going to talk about. There's a dangerous Academy bus variant that has been proposed that is currently pending for the city. And that's a real problem because as I'll talk about, that could actually open the door to all buses essentially being legal to idle for more than 3 minutes throughout the entire city. It'd be a real problem. Unfortunately, DEP discriminates against people who don't speak English as their first language, and that hurts and drives down participation, particularly in EJ areas. There's some loopholes that also hurt enforcement that I'll talk about. And then there are some budget shortfalls that cause these delays. Just to give a plug to DEP, it's not their fault that they have been burdened with some enforcement mechanisms where they didn't necessarily have the staff to do that in the past. That $100 million, none of that goes to the DEP's budgets. But first up, this dangerous bus variants. The Academy Buses has a fleet of 723 buses. They're a New Jersey bus carrier that has been sued for fraud and for idling violations. They settled with the New Jersey state for their fraud violations. And then they've been sued in Massachusetts for idling as well. They've been caught 1,400 times, sorry, in the city alone. And they have asked the DEP as of last month to say, we do not want to comply with the law. It's not fair for us to comply with this 54-year-old law. A number of people have opposed that. Here's an example of where their violations take place throughout the city. As you can see, they're primarily in Midtown, and then there's a big chunk on the other side of CB7 up where I live, because Academy is a Columbia contractor. And so here's an example. They idle constantly on these two blocks. Right here is a daycare center, and right here is the Gate House Garden Park. So it's pretty unfortunate that Academy wants to get out of the law. Here's an example of a sign that is posted right where Academy buses pick up and drop off in Midtown. I was there on Saturday. They were definitely still idling, but then they were also not idling. Somehow they've claimed that it is not safe for them not to idle, which is pretty strange for me to see because they don't idle all the time. We have had some very strong opposition to this variance, maybe CB7. CB4 wrote a letter already. CB7, maybe that's something we can consider for a letter or a resolution. All right. Another concern we have is that the DEP currently discriminates against non-English speaking New Yorkers. I don't read Spanish for real. I sort of pretend that I do, but I understand that this says in Spanish that you must submit your complaint in English. Why? That's a real good question. There has not been a great answer that I've understood. It's sort of a, mumble research issue. Mumble resources issue. There's a bill in the council that would fix that DEP's discrimination by saying you can accept complaints that are in the 12 standard languages. It's had 2 successful hearings over successive sessions and has supermajority co-sponsorship. Doesn't look like it's gonna move this session, which is disappointing, but that would help. This would be the single biggest issue to helping that EJ map get even redder, as it were. Red meaning good in this case. That would be something that would be wonderful if the community boards would support as well. We still need more participants. Anyone recognize where that idler was caught? Right there in front of, I caught them last week, directly in front of our office.
Look at that pile of garbage.
Look at that pile of garbage. That's illegal as well. Yeah, but more to the point, I didn't, whatever. There was an idling truck right there. You can see they were in the car. They were choosing to do that. And in maybe a year and a half, they'll get a ticket in the mail. Here's a video. The audio doesn't matter, fortunately, so you should be able to see this. We need more participants. Why? Because directly across Broadway, I happened to catch this castle construction dust gift to the world here from just 3 weeks ago. And that is a real problem, and it's actually really difficult to report those violations. You have to submit a form. It's really unfortunate that it's not easy to do that.
Well, what are they supposed to do? They're supposed to wet it down with something, so that.
Oh, my lord, yes. If you heard the audio, you'd hear me narrating exactly what they're supposed to do. They're supposed to pre-wet. There's the rules of the city of New York that say you're supposed to pre-wet all your materials so that you don't have the big dust cloud like that. And they actually have the technology. They saw me after this and I went, hey, what's up? And they're like, we have a hose. And I'm like, yeah, but it's not working because you're not pre-wetting. And so there's a whole line of these carts with dust material over there that are not wetted. They said, oh, we wetted them. And I went over and I'm like, it's completely bone dry. Regardless, they do have a system in here that is supposed to be the right pressure to, stop those materials. Even if you dump them, you're supposed to have the right pressure. The rules they're not the best rules, but they're not being enforced. That Castle vehicle has a ton of prior violations, but I'm pleased to say that there are many garbage trucks that do actually comply with the law these days. And they know me and others by sight, and they do change it. All right, but we do have some dangerous loopholes that are currently a big problem. So we asked you a question, is this a truck?
Yeah.
Okay, how about that? It's hard to see, but that thing right there. I didn't do the one that had political messages on it. How about that? We think that garbage truck is a truck. And last one, does that look like a truck? Well, not according to the DEP, because the DEP has a policy. They haven't even passed it as a rule that if a vehicle owner gets an improper and illegal tag, like a personal tag, and slaps it on a truck like that, the DEP will not issue a violation to it. Why? There's no really good answer that I've ever heard. I'd be happy to have the DEP explain that, but essentially they're like, we get too many complaints if we don't, say that it's on a commercial plate. The problem is people abuse the commercial plate. The problem is people drive here from Oregon where there's no such thing as a commercial plate, and DEP won't take it, even if it's on, something like, this is a Georgia plate. And they're like, oh, it's not a truck. I'm like, what are you talking about? A truck is any vehicle that is designed, maintained primarily for the transportation of property, which each of these, of course, is. That's a loophole that, ideally we could get fixed, either through the legislature or through the administration. Another loophole, prior violations. The first violation is $350, the second one is $440, and the third is $600. And then the DEP, however, makes the citizen look up the prior. If you don't look up the prior, they will not issue it as a prior. It's very difficult to look up the prior. There's no tool that exists, except the one that we built that the city now uses, but they still won't use it automatically. They make us do it. Why does that matter? Because, for several of these years, at the 31%, and it's getting a little bit better, but these numbers will probably, as the violations come through, will go up as well. That's $2 million that the city has left on the table. because they simply won't look up prior offenses. Another problem is that there's not a lot of follow-up on the vehicles or the respondents that default. So as you see, highest percentage of people do not show up to the hearings, 36%. The city has been starting some tentative efforts on collecting on this debt. Obviously, we pay attention to it because, you know, we're interested in making sure that the polluters pay their fines, and then we eventually get our cut of it as well. And of course, that matters, but it doesn't really. But it also means that these guys are just being scofflaws. And 36% of the hundreds, you know, the tens of millions of dollars is money that we could, of course, use to do things like I don't know, pay the DEP workers, because a real problem is the delays in the program. Right now, if you submit a violation today, it probably will not be reviewed for another 10 months. And then the DEP will probably not issue a notice of violation for another 4 or 5 months. And then they will not issue set a hearing for another year to 16 months after that, which is deeply, deeply unfair to everybody, to the respondents, to the people who were charged with the violation. They don't even get notice of it for months, if not a year. They certainly don't get a chance to contest that for more than a year. And it really, really is not fair. The trucking companies, the bus companies testify to the city council, and they talk about how really unfair and frustrating it is. And I completely agree with them. They should get, I'm a former prosecutor, I'm a lawyer, they should get due process, full stop. So what that means is we need to increase the pay for DEP workers. The current starting wage for a DEP worker who reviews these complaints is $39,000 a year. That tops out at $49,000 a year, which is not a living wage. That qualifies you for heat assistance for a family of 2. It qualifies you for SNAP benefits for a family of 4. It is unconscionable, and as people who, you know, who are contributing to the city coffers, I think it needs to be fixed. There's also far too few people reviewing these complaints. The air inspectors right now are 65. The city committed to hiring 8 more, which will not really address the problem. And I recently found out that when the air code was passed, there was a criticism made about how wonderful the air code is. It is the strongest in the nation. It is going to improve our air, which it has. I'm led to believe, but people who lived in the city for a long time, that the air got a lot better since 1971. Thank God, mostly because of regulations on boilers and incinerators and things like that. But at the time, they said, if you want to enforce the air code, you need actual enforcement and you need 500 inspectors. At the time, the DEP had 300 people who worked in their air bureau, and now we have 65, maybe 73. Obviously, citizen enforcement works because it takes a need for 500 people and it tosses that out to 8 million, 9 million, right? So that is an important thing. But then the bottleneck of the DEP really does need to be improved in terms of giving the DEP some more budget. We've had my nonprofit, George and others have advocated for at the city council for the DEP to be given more money. That's really an OPM decision by Eric Adams and his administration. So that is the end of my presentation, believe it or not. Happy to take questions. If I can sit down now, is that okay?
Sure,
All
please
right.
sit down, and we're gonna take, and that was great. Thank
Thank
you
you.
very, very much. Really different presentation. And do we have your permission, by the way, to put it on our website?
Sure, let me just clean it up a little bit.
Clean it up and then
Because
we'll take
I
it.
finished
Okay.
that, yeah.
So
yeah.
we're gonna take questions first and comments from the public, and would you like to go first? Because I know you had your hand raised before, so please.
Okay.
May I introduce you?
Okay.
I
This
love
is
it.
Samara Swanson. She worked diligently for years and years within the context of the city council to bring this whole situation to a head, to a vote. And we owe her a round of applause and a round of thanks for amazing effort.
So when I started the citizen complaint program, I started it with Denise Katzman. We were hung out on Alston Street, and eventually there were no barriers to the citizen enforcement program. And I had no idea that we would be writing 125,000 tickets per quarter, which are sustained in the ECB. Now, I'm not saying that 100% of the tickets are sustained, but those that are sustained really matter. In the future, we'll not need such programs, but we need them now, we rely on them now. And maybe in the future, we'll get a ticket and happily pay it, or not. But, we hope to pay our tickets and, when they do, and, that way we will avoid additional charges.
Thank you, Stan.
I have a question for you, Hayden.
Yes, George, go ahead.
Thank you. When you're out in the street doing this activity, have you ever been accosted?
It's happened. It's happened.
To what extent?
I've never felt, in danger of my life or anything like that. People notice, drivers notice, and the best thing they do is they turn off. It is, a wonderful thing when you see a driver who sees you there and they just turn off. And, oftentimes I'll tip my hat, or I'll say, maybe I won't say thanks, but sometimes I do. And then there are people who know us on site and who just, they see us coming and they turn off. I don't know what they do when we're not there, but that's what everyone else in this room and on this Zoom comes in. Because we want to make sure that anyone who wants to violate the law knows that there might be, actual eyes and boots on the ground. That's what we want.
And just to reiterate, I believe you said that total revenue so far, since the program's been enforced, is about $90 million.
A little over 90. I think it's rounding up to 100. Yep.
But the problem is that the DEP receives none of this income. Is that accurate?
Right. Fine income goes into the general fund, and there's a good budgetary principle for that, right? But the problem means that then you're just giving an unfunded mandate to a city agency that has to, they weren't enforcing the law before. Let's be real. They weren't doing it. And part of the resistance that they have towards us, and they've said some nasty things about us, is that, we're only in it for the money. Well, I would like to put ourselves out of business, quite honestly, so that, you guys have been very modest about the health effects of and people in your life. And it's like, it really does matter to people who live in New York. We don't want this idling to go on. If I go out and there's no one out idling out there, that's victory. That's
Yeah,
the win.
sure. Other comments from people who are here, not on the committee? Okay, we have one person who's online who'd like to speak. Eric Eisenberg?
Hi. I had a question. It seems like, Hayden, you brought up a lot of really serious problems with how the DEP is handling these complaints. You brought up their refusal to take foreign language complaints, their failure to allocate enough workers to this. Are these problems that they know about? Is it just that they don't know that these are problems, or have these been brought to their attention and they just don't care about the environment?
Well, they've definitely been brought to the DEP's attention. There have been city council hearings. There's a whole city council bill about making sure that every New Yorker, regardless of whether they speak English as a first language, has been, that bill has been brought to their attention many times. They've actually testified the commissioner, at least the current commissioner appointed by Eric Adams, has testified in opposition to that. And I'll let folks draw their conclusions about where priorities lie. But these are issues that we are constantly talking about and that the city definitely knows about.
Other questions, committee members?
I have two questions. The first is on Columbus Avenue, we still have that problem with Amazon being there and they idle. And I heard from the bid that that's apparently legal because they have someone in the driver's seat while they're unloading, but they're there for like 30 minutes.
That is
So I was
not,
curious.
that is not accurate. You should take your phone out there and you should record them. And if they are, it does not matter if there's anyone in the truck. So there are some exceptions that I didn't touch on, but I'll get in the weeds real briefly. If there is a processing device with a mechanical connection to the engine, what does that mean? That means like if you have a crane that is mechanically connected to the engine, or sometimes they'll say a lift gate. So if the lift gate is going up and down, that currently can interrupt the idling.
I see.
But simply someone sitting in there does not make a difference one way or the other. Now, listen, when it gets cold or gets hot, worker safety is a serious issue. And the nice thing is that these companies can actually provide heating HVAC solutions that are battery powered that will help keep their workers safe. If you're there all day, you can go inside. If you are there briefly for, half an hour, there's a battery powered solution, or for an hour, there's a battery powered solution that will turn on, that will keep the heat going, that will keep you cool. So if people are running the engine while they're inside to stay warm, that is a sign that that company needs to get the message to electrify through a fine. Because they are poisoning their own worker by requiring their worker to run an engine to stay warm. That, the negative externalities, or what economists call that, but like, they need to have there be some financial incentive to change their behavior.
Okay. And then.
And if you want to,
yeah.
we can talk about it,
Mhm.
and you can start recording, and you can eventually, get 25% of the cut at some point. So, go ahead, sorry.
And then I think I missed this, but how can I sign up and help with this?
Yeah, so our website is nycair.org. That is the New York Clean Air Collective's website, and there's a little link to a place to get started. The city's website is not completely user friendly, but if you create an account, and this is the part where people get stuck. So if you want, persevere, email me, call me, whatever, I'll happily help you through. That's a sort of friendly landing place, but if you want, you can sign up to the website. You have to then record the video, you have to make sure that it has a timestamp on it, and you have to make sure that the video is less than 150 megabytes. Then you have to take a screenshot of the license plates and the company information, and then if it's next to a park or a school, a sign showing the park or the school. Then you have to upload those to the website.
Wow.
And you have to include the respondent's address, and that's kind of a pain, but we've built tools that can actually help you, and I'm happy to help, walk you through. Because, it is an important thing. We have actually, George, you've developed an app that the city didn't want to use.
My partner and I spent years developing an app that would make presenting the files to the EP on the run, on the go. And they refused to. And we built it for free. And they're still using it. And I've heard that they've spent tens of thousands of dollars to develop their own app, which went nowhere. So I can't explain that. It's a pity, but it's the truth.
But don't give up. That's the point, is that there's a learning curve and you feel a little weird being out there, but if someone turns off or if they yell at you and then they turn off, either of those, it's a fine result. So
Thank you.
Did you have to record for the whole 3 minutes?
you do. For a while there, they weren't making you record the whole 3 minutes, but I think the best evidence is you want to hear that, you want to show the evidence of the sound. You want to make sure that the lift gate isn't going up and down. There's sometimes these reefers, these refrigerator things at the top that sometimes they require the engine to run, but most of the time they do not. You're going to want to show that, and you're going to want to make sure that that's not, if that's running, that's okay, as long as it's not the kind that is depending on the engine. But a Con Ed truck, for instance, or a Verizon truck, they have generators in the back. You'll be able to pretty easily tell if it's the generator that's running or the main engine. So you want to make sure that you get the front engine. These days, visible exhaust is really easy, so that can help you stand off if you just on the tailpipe the entire time. That'll get you. It needs to be 301 of idling, and the video itself needs to be longer than 304. But and then if it's next to school, it's only 1 minute.
It takes a bit of courage to do it for the first time.
And the second and the third, but
But it's not simple. It's actually quite simple. And a very effective solution.
It does.
I'm gonna do this. I signed up.
All right, very good, very good.
For those on the Zoom, I added a link to the resources section of the Zoom to sign up to. I'll go to.
That's great.
Oh,
That's
great.
what it looks
Okay.
like.
I also have questions.
Yeah.
Anybody else have any questions?
Sure. One more question. Have you ever, I'm sure this has been explored, but the traffic cops that are
Mhm.
ticketing us if we're a minute late in moving our car?
Have I ever asked them, hey, why don't you,
Are
why
they
why
able
don't you
to,
truck
are
this?
they empowered to?
Oh, of course.
Traffic.
Oh,
ticket
yeah.
them? You
They've-
think that would
they've-
be more profitable for them.
They have been empowered, they have been empowered to do that since 1971.
Okay.
And I have had a number of conversations with those traffic cops and they don't do it. They, we've all done alternate side, maybe not all of us. I had a car, I've done alternate side parking. And as long as you turn it off before 3 minutes, you're compliant with the law. But yeah, the traffic cops couldn't care less and they don't understand the law. And I don't know why.
Cause a lot of them are idling, waiting for the clock to tick.
Yeah, I didn't want to say anything when we had the captain on before.
more than 3 minutes.
Yeah.
No, the NYPD is the single biggest offender.
Okay.
And their defense is, well, we have to idle to run our equipment, and I'm like, it doesn't have a mechanical, no, there is an exception in the law for emergency vehicles, there simply is. So it's a bigger issue. It's a bigger issue.
All city vehicles.
All city vehicles are exempt from the law. I'm sorry, I should have said that. They're not really exempt from the law, but they're effectively exempt from the law.
Correct.
Emergency vehicles are specifically accepted in the law, but a DEP dump truck,
Yeah,
like
no,
I saw
understand
today.
the NYPD.
Say it again, sorry.
I understand the NYPD being exempt, but I'm talking about
Yeah.
the traffic.
Yeah, they're just standing on the corner waiting.
Yeah,
for
they're
the-
just waiting for they're like looking at their, okay, 1 minute passed.
Yeah.
Start ding, ding, ding.
Yep.
Dinging all the cars, yeah.
Yep.
Nothing has given me more satisfaction that when I have been successful in affecting the mentality of a DEP, as a police officer in the car idling, when I've convinced him to shut his engine off. And it's happened rarely, but it's very amusing.
Right. We have one final question, I think, from Daria, my
Yeah.
co-chair.
I just had questions about how the fines are levied. Is it levied directly against a company, or is it for the individual riders too, or drivers too? And then when they show up, who's supposed to show up for the summons?
Sure.
And who's supposed to pay the fine? Is it gonna be the company again?
Yes, the answer
I'm
is.
struck by, one last thing,
Oh, sure.
I'm struck by how Amazon was able to kind of reduce the amount in 1 month based on the amount of videos you guys had sent in. So I'm wondering what's so special about that process with Amazon and their drivers that made that so effective versus the others?
It's a great question. All right, first things first.
Mhm.
The citizens always and can only report against trucks and buses. And those trucks and buses are almost always operated by companies and they are issued to the companies. Tickets are issued to the companies. The people who show up at the hearings are the company representatives. So Con Ed, Verizon, or, some smaller plumber companies. That's they're issued against that. What the companies do, behind that, as to like who is responsible for the fine, I think that varies company by company. I have spoken with workers for Verizon who tell me they don't pay any of the fines. Okay, fine. Con Ed, it's a little bit different. My understanding is that Con Ed will say that if you are where you're supposed to be and you're idling, the individual worker will not pay the fine. But if you're not where you're supposed to be and you're idling, maybe Con Ed will make them pay the fine. That's all hearsay. I don't
So they pass
really
some
know.
of it on to the.
I don't know that for sure. I just know that's what the drivers have told me, and obviously the drivers have a little bit of a vested interest, but I have no reason to doubt that has happened. So, the real people who should be changing their systems are the companies who should not be requiring their workers to go out with equipment that requires them to poison themselves and others. There are electric solutions. It costs just about the cost of a third violation, a $600 ticket for a van system that is battery powered for a plumber or something like that. Put that in your van, you're gonna have HVAC based on the battery. It will not require you to run the engine. It will charge when you drive. Those solutions exist right now. Many companies have electrified. That's one of the things I should have talked about. DHL, all electric. IKEA, all electric. Some of the companies, some of the bus companies have been majorly electrifying. The school buses that idle all up the way and down Broadway. All last winter, I got them when they were idling illegally on Broadway. And several of them have bought gigantic, big electric buses, and I love it. You'd love to see it. That's good news for all the kids who are on those buses. Because, you know, New York City is like the perfect place for electric buses, because when you're stopped, you're not draining that battery, you know?
These are NYC DOE buses, or are they? private?
Unfortunately not. These are, sorry, the ones that I've seen are you know, I don't want to get the company wrong. I have so many companies that I know by sight. But they are definitely not the NYC buses. Some of them do. Some of those NYC buses have to apply to a pilot program, but then I've also seen some of the bigger. I don't want to get it wrong, you know, which one it was, but you know, it's wonderful to see.
And then Amazon. how
Oh, right.
is it So effective.
That is a great question. For a long time, Amazon, you know, they're such a big behemoth that it was like a mosquito on a elephant. I'm not gonna say it's because,
Amazon is?
I'm saying we were like a mosquito
Oh,
on an elephant. What is a couple $1 million to Amazon, right?
Right, that's why I'm wondering how this is so effective. with
So,
large-
That's a great question. So Amazon was paying lots and lots and lots of fines. And I'm not gonna say it was because somebody tweeted at their sustainability officer, but it certainly didn't hurt. I mean, you just need to get the attention of the people who have a decision, who can make decisions. Con Ed, is a major violator. I have seen an electric Con Ed F-150 Lightning. They, believe it or not, are starting to use their own product, electricity. It can be done. There are lots of signs of hope. I wish I had a better answer for you there, but I do know that evidently it's not perfect. There's a bunch of Amazon subcontractors that I bet are probably not as compliant as this particular subcontractor became, so.
Thank you again.
Thank
for a
you.
Wonderful presentation, and we will put it on our website
Yes,
so people can
yes.
review it. Thanks.
Yeah.
That brings us to all the new business. So I apologize, I'm gonna have to read some of this to you. First of all, River Run is expected to return for discussion at our next committee meeting.
Okay.
Scheduled for December 15th. Now, regarding the crossings on the Central Park drives, which we've talked about many times here before, and there's a lot of concern, I think it's the question that's most on people's minds about what DOT and the Central Park Conservancy are planning to do regarding the crossings in Central Park because of the safety factor for pedestrians and children, dogs, everybody who's trying to cross. And I personally stood there for an hour at a major crossing and watched, and not one bike rider stopped, or one e-bike rider, nobody stopped. And then you see people who waited until there was just a gap, and this wasn't even on a weekend when it's much more crowded. So anyway, we went through numerous efforts to try to get a speaker for tonight on this topic. And we reached out to many people, with the acting DOT Commissioner, Danielle Zuckerman, and we got to Danielle through Shula from Gail's office, who's here tonight, in case you want to say something about this. She put us in touch with her, and that started the ball rolling because I was able to write to her and copy a lot of other people, and I think when they saw her name, they were maybe scared, I don't know. But we contacted Colleen, who was our spokesperson for this community board, and New York City Parks, and we had a conversation with the Central Park Conservancy. Now, basically, what we learned from the Conservancy was that their job is basically complete. They were asked to do a study on the drives. They've done that study now, and now the ball is really in DOT's court. Sadly, after many emails and phone conversations, we failed to get anybody for tonight, although we must have communicated with at least 20 different people regarding this. They told us they'll try to come in January. We will try to make sure that happens, but in any case, at 4 o'clock today, after totally giving up hope, suddenly Colleen, our DOT rep, writes, and she answers the 5 questions that we had asked every single one of these people. And so if you don't mind, I'd like to read you their answers, the questions and their answers. And I think you'll see that we definitely need another meeting and a face meeting with them. So the first question was, what is the plan for the Central Park drives, particularly at the pedestrian crossings? DOT response. The redesign of the Central Park drives is ongoing. The southern section of the park, the updated pavement markings, signal changes, new signage are substantially complete. At the pedestrian crossings, new stop for pedestrian signs were installed along with updating the signal to flashing amber. DOT is working to update the signal lens to have a bicycle icon and install additional stop for peds markings on the drives at selected crossings. The northern section of the park, north of 96th Street, will be resurfaced and restriped next spring. 2, will the burlap now covering the traffic signals be changed to some other sort of signal, or will they be removed altogether? DOT response. The burlap covers are a temporary measure until the pedestrian signals are removed. 3, will you be installing any kind of traffic calming such as speed bumps, depressions, etc. at these crossings? DOT response. The updated design on the drives includes new markings, signage, and signal infrastructure with the goal of better organizing users on the drives and creating a safer and more comfortable experience for all. DOT is continuing to monitor the drives for potential future improvements. 4, we understand that the park receives 42 million visitors each year, and 48% of those are pedestrians. Many are tourists who speak no English. How will people know when it's safe to cross the drive, which currently has a lot of traffic from e-bikes, bikes, scooters, etc.? Right now, people are terrified of crossing the road, especially on weekends when the park is most crowded. None of the traffic slows or stops for pedestrians. DOT response. A goal of this project is transforming the previous vehicle-oriented pavement markings and traffic signals to a street design that better aligns with pedestrians and cyclists who are the main users of the drives. The updated design includes stop for pedestrian signs, updating the traffic signals to have a bike lens, changing the signals to a flashing amber, and installing rumble strips at selected crossings. The intent of these improvements is to reinforce that cyclists and drivers must stop for pedestrians waiting to cross the drives. DOT is coordinating with the Central Park Conservancy to provide more education and awareness for cyclists and drivers. Last question, 5. When will the pilot program allowing e-bikes in the park be over? Will the neighborhood be consulted as to whether e-bikes should be banned from the park altogether or allowed to continue? Park response. Parks and greenways are critical parts of the city's cycling and pedestrian infrastructure and often the most comfortable, safe, and scenic routes. We are committed to ensuring our public spaces can safely accommodate the diverse ways that New Yorkers engage with them. We continue to explore options on the management of e-bikes and e-scooters on greenways and park drives to educate the public about the pilot and solicit feedback on electric micro-mobility devices and safety on greenways and park drives. We conducted a 12-week survey in June through September 2023. Additionally, we are currently continuing to request public input on the conditions of specific park drives and greenways through a map tool on our website. Any formal rule change would require a public comment period. And that's what we got from them. So Shula, did you want to talk about the meeting that you had with them?
Yeah, sure. Hi, I'm Shula. I'm Pittsburgh River's Chief of Staff. I'm sorry I missed Kevin Maglianti in the beginning, but I'm definitely on top of everyone. We had a great meeting with Gail, the Conservancy, Captain Maglianti, and also Parks to talk about the bridle path. So, but I can follow up with you later about it. I mean, we just reached out to both Conservancy and also to Parks as well. Not only, I think, with our own experiences, but also a number of constituents have been calling us saying that I'd say in particular, I think it's an experience around all the drives, but on 86th Street, crossing over to what I call like by the bridle path of the Pine Tum, and then also on the other side, crossing over to the Met also, which is also in our district too. People really found that it's either just like a just go and like go for it, or maybe there's just, you happen to have like a space. And I think you still get a lot of calls from constituents who I think really well reflected in your questions, are that people, they see the burlap covered and they think, okay, well, where's the next, let's say, better signage coming up? And I think I think the concern is that right now, whereas I think there are definitely improvements that have happened in the experience of being on the drives themselves, that still that piece needs to be improved, that the actual experiential thing that we're hearing from constituents is just not being able to safely and confidently cross as a pedestrian. Once you're in the drive, maybe that feels different, but just to cross, to go back and forth, and we know some people, that's just a regular part of being in the park, that really is a piece that needs to be improved still. So I think it's a great idea. When I also got the 407 from Danielle, the responses, but I think having it in January means a great idea. And we can also, continue to support that as well, because I think it still needs to be worked on.
Okay, great. I just advise you that our January meeting is scheduled for Martin Luther King Day, and that will be changed. And I don't know what the new date is yet. We'll have to figure that out and we'll post it. So, and I'll remind you in December, by that date, we should have a date for the January meeting.
And we'll share it in our e-news also, and River Run, of course, so people know.
Okay. Any other old business? How about new business? Okay,
All right, my name's Chris Rogers, and I've been,
you wanna come up here so everybody can hear you?
The
I'm afraid-
microphones are up here. so
Yeah,
it's
I'm afraid people
easier
online may
for-
not hear what you're saying.
here.
Right here.
Yes.
This is fun, yeah.
Sure, this is my first, committee.
Okay.
First, anything, outside of work. No, I have, two young boys at PS 166 and the, neighboring playground on 89th Street, in short, isn't used, I think, as the kids intended. They, other schools have a playground with a flat surface and a court, something that could, have goals. The kids try to make that up by, makeshift goals between the, slabs of pavement and the fence. So my heart kind of goes out to the kids because they're trying to make this thing happen, and I feel like that playground's been around before the school was called Richard Rogers School. So it's been a while. And it'd be like a simple fix. And I know you guys have a lot on your plate, awesome stuff I heard today. But maybe you could point me in a direction that could, help improve the playground. That's really it. Nothing groundbreaking like improving the air quality.
What's the name of it again?
Yeah, what's the name of it?
So the school's PS 166.
Is it Playground 89?
Yeah.
That would make sense. It's like 89th Street. And the tricky part is that the playground isn't under the jurisdiction of the school, if I'm using the word jurisdiction correctly there with playgrounds.
Yep. It's parks. It's MSC Parks. Yep.
But then I go to,
Do you wanna answer?
Yeah, I can try to talk to them.
It's during the daytime, but,
Yeah, so.
Salt Bloom Playground also, it's used by the school during
Yeah.
the day, 166, and after school.
It's open.
The Parks Department is in charge of like locking it up.
so I went to parks and ended up here. So,
Yeah.
well, anyway, so it might not be under what you guys do, but.
No, they want you to come through us. Is what they.
Oh,
is
got
what
it.
they're,
So I'm on the right track.
well, yeah, but they want to, yeah, like.
Thank you.
So one of the things we talked about was like, it's good because then we can go ahead and go back to parks and say like, this came up at a community board and this is
Right.
important to the community. So it's good for, the community members to come and talk here because it is a public forum and your voice is heard. So thank you for that. One of the places you can also go through, I suggested it before, is just go through participatory budgeting or a few other avenues to be able to get funding for the playground. If you have a lot of support in the school especially, that's something that you can rally folks around. You would just have to.
I
go
definitely
through.
can, and they've asked me to make
Yeah.
a petition, but I said I'd come talk to you guys first. The issue that they have is they feel they don't have any, like, let's say I wanted to improve on my neighbor's lawn. they wouldn't let me just come over and spruce it up without their permission. So they don't feel like they have the permission of the city to improve upon that playground. I could go out to 20 of the parents, probably raise up enough money, flatten out the area, put in basketball courts.
Right. So my understanding is that when you can come up with an idea around it and maybe submit a plan that's fully fleshed out. But the actual process of designing the playground is going to be up to Parks Department, because once they touch the playground, they have to bring all these things up to code.
Mm.
And it requires a significant amount of change, not just in the area around the playground and the structure and leveling it out. But it's also gonna require making it ADA accessible, which right now is currently, it's like a little, some areas are not, and the equipment is not. So that's one of the things that happens, is that it all goes over to parks. You just have to put together a really good proposal in order to address this. And this has to have a lot of support from the school members and the kids and the parents and stuff like that to be able to rally the community around it.
What counts as a lot?
I mean, you get to vote and participate in budgeting, so
Yeah.
what is a lot?
No, I think that's a good idea. I mean,
Sheila,
it's
what do you-
active right now, so you should definitely get an
relative.
application. And Sheila's the one to ask.
That's-
Sheila works for Councilmember Brewer, so, yeah.
I can be talking more about it, but in general, anyone can go to participatory budgeting website right now. You can just submit, it takes like a minute. You have a lot of details, which is even better, but you can do something really simple and submit it in. We're collecting ideas through the end of the month. And what's gonna happen is that all the ideas are gonna be matched together to overseeing city agencies. So we would bring your idea to parks. They're gonna go through everything. Gail allocates $1 million of capital money to participatory budgeting. Generally speaking, about 3 projects get funded. So let's say every project might be about $275,000, $300,000. And so some of those projects though might be millions of dollars, some might be much less, it just kind of depends. And the Parks Department will tell us though, is it something that's capitally eligible, is it feasible, how much money is it gonna cost? And then there's a committee of community members who take that feedback and then create a ballot, and usually there's about 12 projects on the ballot. School projects and parks projects are very, very popular for a variety of reasons. One of them is because they're often the most eligible of all the different ideas that come into the office. We don't throw away any ideas though. There's some ideas that might not be eligible for PB, but they're eligible for our broader capital process, or might even be fundable through programmatic or expense funding. So we keep everything. But you can share as much information as you have when you put the proposal forward. There's a system now where people can look on the map and start liking it also. What is good about this project in particular, besides the fact that, as I was saying, it's a wonderful public resource, that also you have a homegrown community who's probably very interested and excited about improving that space, because 166 students do it all the time. I'm definitely happy to talk to you more about it too. All our information is on our website, and my colleague Cynthia is the head of our budget and legislation, and she can tell you all the things. And actually, on top of that, I'll boost our own things. We've been going to pretty much any public school that will have us. Last week, Cynthia and my colleagues went to, I think, saw over 1,200 public school kids and did these presentations on PB. Kids have often amazing ideas that are not only, sometimes think they're only about their school, but often they're much more broad than that, and really creative too. It's actually part of the city Civics for All curriculum also that we built that complements that. So there also might even be 166 students who are even already submitting that idea, but even if not, it could be done in person at our office, or also people can just submit it online as well. We can answer any other questions you have.
I mean, the only other question I have is, putting together a nice project makes sense on our presentation. Would it help to get like a petition going? I always don't like petitions per se, because it kind of creates drama. But would you suggest I do that? Would that go inside with the presentation?
I think there's a number of different approaches, but I think for this, just on a super basic level, you just need to submit an idea for the idea map for the website, so we have it as part of the group. It's okay if other people also submit it also, that's totally fine. But I would put as many details as you have for the idea. And then we're gonna share everything with the Parks Department and all the other city agencies that are relevant. I imagine something like that, again, it would just depend on the scope of it, and what's eligible. They'll get back to us on the feasibility. And then I think it's like the last week of April, May typically is vote week, or actually, it's probably March, April. There'd be 1 week, where all the ideas that have made it onto the ballot, go forward, and then everyone in the community gets to vote, from 11 up.
Great.
And so that I think would be the time when hopefully, if it's feasible and makes the ballot, that's when I would really start campaigning, so to speak.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I hope
Thank
that
you
was
very
helpful.
much.
Thank you.
Okay, more new business? Yes, please. Hi.
Just gonna come, I'm sorry, I'm deaf, so I'm going to kind of look at some of these. My name is Tag Gross, I'm a resident Upper West Side,
Okay.
and I'm here because I wanted to talk about the problem of dogs in Riverside Park. I'm looking at specifically the area in Riverside from 97th Street up to 119th Street. That's where I live, so that's what I'm really familiar with.
You know, our area doesn't go up that far. We stop at 110.
That's House of Web?
We stop at 110.
Yeah, that's okay. That's basically the top of the promenade. Along the, yeah, I mean, that's really where a lot of the problem is.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, the park there, that strip of the park goes to 119, but the promenade, which is one of the big areas where dogs are not allowed off the leash at all, goes to 110. I mean, or a little bit further, I think. There's the dog, there's the cafe that's there.
Yeah, I know exactly where it
Yeah,
is.
you guys are familiar. So, I've made a lot of complaints with 311 and nothing happens. I've talked to Sean Abreu's office, nothing happens. And basically, there's been a dramatic increase in the amount of dogs that are in the park off the leash at all times. Not before 9 and not out, I'm talking all day long. And not only that, but there's a huge strip of that park where dogs are not allowed. What?
Great, I'm just gonna say goodbye.
Yes, yeah, and thank you for all you guys. That's amazing. That program is like great.
Yeah.
There's the area that's the promenade, that's the paved area that goes from like, let's say 99th Street up to the end. Dogs are not allowed off leash in that area at any time.
Excuse me.
So, and they're off leash constantly. And there's zero enforcement about it from Parks Patrol or from NYPD. And what happens is it's not just about, I'd like to just relate 3 incidents which I personally saw. A little girl, about 9 years old, rollerblading. She's coming down the promenade with a look of terror on her face. She's being chased by the tiniest dog, like it was a Pekingese or something, right? Growling, snarling, whatever. But this girl is terrified. She's so terrified that she finally wipes out. And at the last possible second, the father intervenes and just grab the dog. This is its dog off the leash. I saw another man.
What
and lots
time
times
of
these-
the day was that? It
I'm sorry,
wasn't
what?
like before
Yeah, what
9
time of the
AM,
day?
was it?
This was like, 1 o'clock,
Thank
2
you.
o'clock in the afternoon. These 3 incidents which I've seen
Oh,
are all happening in times that are not, dogs aren't allowed off the leash, period. And in the promenade, they're never allowed off.
so if you would be willing to come next month,
Yeah.
are you? December 15th to our next meeting, we are expecting the Riverside Park people to talk about River Run, the playground.
Right, that's right.
And
That's right.
you will have an opportunity to ask
That's
them,
right.
tell them your issue directly. I mean, I could take your contact information and I could write to this, our rep, if you would
Okay.
prefer to do that.
Well, it's kind of, I think, because it's not only the safety issue, you've got the issue of the green areas as well, being torn up on a regular
There's no
basis.
question. I
Yeah.
mean, we have this all the time with Central Park, and I happen to be on the board of Theodore Roosevelt Park, which is the little park around the Museum of Natural History.
Right, oh, right.
Yeah, and we have had dog issues from time to time, and we've asked for more enforcement, and we've gotten it. And we've had people give out tickets, so
I own dogs, and believe me, it used to be a time where like,
Yeah.
you put your dog on the leash at 9 AM because you knew the parks people were coming to get you.
So
Yeah, it's a lot like the same thing with this exhaust
if you
stuff.
don't mind, share your contact info with me, give me your email address and your name.
Sure.
Okay, and
And can I just drafted just very roughly, like just 4 really simple points, which I think you guys could consider for whatever the next meeting, discuss it or whatever that involves signage, enforcement, et cetera, and pass a resolution to try to get, I'm gonna go to the 2 4s community meeting too, but. You know, there has to be something done about this, because what happens is the less you do about it, the more people do it.
It's not the kind of thing we're gonna write a resolution about. It just isn't.
Oh, I'll
But we
say-
will try to help you in every way that we can,
100%. So,
okay?
so there are signs there and it is enforcement. That's the enforcement. So I
Yeah.
don't know the answer to the enforcement questions. which is
There
fine.
aren't, well, there aren't signs though. That's part of the problem.
I've seen them, I've seen them myself, and I know the rules, and fortunately, my dog's old enough to where it's not even an issue, I wouldn't let her off leash. But I'm just saying, I know about the rule because of the signs. Maybe
Right.
they're not enough signs, and I also know that if you want enforcement, we need to talk to Port Parks about that, because I have no idea what the enforcement mechanism is. And, there's dangerous stuff.
Yeah, but the
for sure.
Riverside Park folks are gonna be here next month.
Yep.
And this is his opportunity to
Yeah.
let them know
Yeah.
directly.
Yep,
Does-
exactly.
Agree with
Yeah.
Brad, Ron, you know?
Can you answer this? Does the NYPD supervise parks enforcement?
No, we
No.
have
They have parks
park
police.
enforcement officers, though, PEP officers, they're
Right.
called. And,
Who
they,
supervises those officers?
they roam Riverside Park and they, they can give out tickets.
Are they under the Parks Department? Is that what?
Yeah, oh yeah, they're under the
It's
Park,
under
New York City
Parks.
Parks Department, sorry, yeah.
It's an
Okay.
issue. I think, I think, as Barbara said, we're not necessarily really ready to write a resolution. It's not a thing you can really do. But this is the exact right forum when the parks people are here to hear you.
Okay, so you're saying next month to come and.
Yep.
Yeah.
December
Can
15th, they're gonna be
you
at
know-
the table and you will be there. too.
At
Can
the,
you-
at
if
the
you
end
want
of their
to.
presentation,
Yeah.
and we will probably be voting on a resolution at that point. And when that is over, we'll take questions. Well, we'll tell them, we'll let them know that somebody has a question and you're gonna raise it, okay?
Okay, great.
All right.
Thank you.
You'll definitely get an opportunity, I promise you.
Okay,
Yep.
Just.
yeah, because the other channels just nothing happens.
We're a forum for all the agencies and the citizens
Yeah.
to come together, and that is gonna happen. They were
Right.
supposed to be here this month, but things got.
Well, thanks, I appreciate it.
Yep.
And you wanna leave me your contact info just
Sure.
in case I have some good results?
Sure.
Here. I'll put it on here.
Because the-
And
Can you
does
also
anybody
send
else have anything?
Can you also send us the list of the four
Okay,
things that
then
you?
I'm gonna
I'm
ask
sorry.
for,
Send us the
a
list
motion
of the
to
four
adjourn?
things that you think.
Yeah,
you
sure.
need to
Okay, great,
consider.
thank
Great,
you.
thank you.
And have it
Thank
so
you.
on. I think.
I'm so sorry.
No, please don't be.
we're
This
so
is a great
sorry.
I hope it's
meeting.
not too late. for
No,
you.
no, no.
Where's
It's
Ken?
just
Where's
a
John?
dinner
Oh,
party.
yeah,
It's
no,
really no worries,
yeah,
yeah.
January meeting, we'd
Email
like it to
directly
be
to
joint with
us. Thank you.
Oh,
transportation.
great,
Um,
okay, that'd be
You know,
nice,
I mean,
yeah.
it has to be really.
Okay, yeah, no, that would be lovely.
All
So
right,
would
great.
those be like an additional meeting, but joint with transportation?
So,
We moved.
yeah, motion to adjourn?
We have motion to adjourn,
Motion
passed?
Yeah.
So, and
Yes.
all in favor? Aye.
Okay,
Thanks, guys.
we're finished, we're adjourned for the
We're
evening.
done?
Thank you, everybody.
Done.
We're dismissed.